Okay, now that I have a better camera, I kind of wanted to redo some of the videos that I've done in the past. And basically, I made a few changes and modifications to these knives. And so now I think the comparison is a lot more fair between the knives. In the previous video, I had compared these two, and basically the only reason I preferred this knife over the Emerson was the pocket clip location. As you can see, I went ahead and changed that myself. You know, I didn't do a perfect job. You can see where I placed it. It is slightly obscuring the lanyard hole. To me, that's not a big deal because I don't really use lanyards. I don't think I will use lanyards, and you can still get paracord through there without too much trouble. And it's as high up on the handle as I could get, even higher than the way it comes from Emerson, obviously. So anyway, those are the changes I've made to that. And so now I think I can do a more fair comparison. I did up a bunch of the stats on my computer here, and I'm just going to bring them up. But they're very similar between the two knives. The Emerson CQC-8 has a slightly longer handle and subsequently a slightly longer overall size. The ZT is, you know, slightly smaller, but they're both really large knives. Another difference is the coatings, of course. This is blackened, and this is, you know, just a stonewashed finish. But other than that, the weight is the same. The blade size is nearly identical. A lot of the features are the same. So anyway, while I'm waiting for my computer to boot up here, I'm just gonna drop the specs. I have them all listed, and they're fairly in-depth specs, so if anyone would like to see them, feel free to shoot me a message and I can give you what I have on the knives. So, starting with the ZT, you got basically a 4-inch blade, not quite, 3 4/5. And the Emerson is slightly longer, but not by much. You can see there, the overall size is very, very similar. The weight is about 6 ounces, just a tiny bit less. This is 0.08 ounces less than 6 ounces. So anyway, all that aside, they are very similar knives. They both feature titanium locking mechanisms. This is a liner lock, obviously, and this is a frame lock. So, very similar material. The handle material is G10 on this side, and then you've got titanium on this side, G10 on this side. So, in general, the CQC-8 does feel better in the hand. It feels warmer. The grip, I don't know, it feels a little more tacky, or, you know, it gives more grip. The zero tolerance, it feels good, but some of the problems are it's got sharp corners, especially around here. And if you're a lefty like me, this cutout can be a bit sharp when you're gripping the knife like so. Not a huge deal, but it is noticeable to me. You can see my mod that I did there. Pretty easy mod to do. You just have to have patience. Pretty cool. You can do a similar mod to the thumb plate on the Emerson, so you can trick both of these knives out pretty good. So the materials are very similar on both knives. You get an LMAX steel on the ZT and a 154 cm steel on the Emerson. I don't know which one is better. I would tend to think the LMAX. I've had experience with 154 cm, pretty limited experience, but it tends to dull pretty quickly. And especially hitting stuff. I know this may sound odd, but yeah, basically if you whack anything with the blade, I did this on a counter, a wooden counter, and when I hit the edge of the knife on the counter, it chipped a bunch of chips away from the edge. So I think LMAX is a little bit better, but you know, it's subjective. I have never done that to the ZT, and it might do the same thing. So who really knows? I'll still stand by what I said in the previous comparison. I do prefer how the pocket clip comes ready to be swapped to any of the four corners from the factory. That's a huge plus. On this one, you're stuck with a single position. I did a bunch of work and made that so that I could carry it the way I like. And now I do like it, but it's a lot of work. In terms of coatings, or lack thereof, I don't know. I think I prefer a coated blade just because it looks a little more low-key than this flashy blade. I know when I bring this out, especially at work, people give me strange looks. I'm sure they would probably think the same with this, but my whole point is that it's a little more low-key and not as flashy. It just looks more slick. The deployment, I'm kind of undecided on this one as well. I like the wave feature, and I think it's a cool deployment. I would never really use it in a tactical sense. I definitely like the speed of deployment of the Kershaw because it uses a bearing system. What do they call it? Kershaw velocity technology or something. KVT for short. It definitely makes the blade fly out really nice, and it's got the flipper. I don't really like using the flipper. I prefer thumb studs. But the deployment on the ZT is a whole lot better than the deployment on the Emerson CQC-8. The deployment is slow. You know, you have to give it a generous wrist flick, and the thumb plate isn't exactly the easiest to use. You really have to dig in there and then give it a good outward flick. So, I mean, I realize it's meant to be used with the wave feature, but I still like using the thumb plate. Overall ergonomics are very similar. You get deep finger choils on both the knives. You can see that there. Relatively deep finger guards on both. The ZT is a little bit better because of the flipper. It adds a little extra length, and overall, you know, it envelops your finger better and acts as a guard. The Emerson does an okay job, but it's not quite as good. And there's a lot more material in between the edge and your finger. So, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as responsive as the ZT, although it is very similar. I just feel the ZT is better designed, I guess. Let's see here. Finish is pretty much the same. The blade shape, overall, they're very similar as well. You get about the same amount of belly in both knives. This is an upswept blade. Both are very straight for a good portion of the blade here. I think I like the grind of the ZT better. It's probably not as strong, but it looks cooler. I think it's easier to sharpen, and it takes a razor edge. I've tried to sharpen the Emerson to a point where I really like it. I haven't really been able to do that. I actually had to take a belt grinder from at work. It's actually the Work Sharp knife and tool sharpener, and I aggressively ground this side of the edge, you know, the one that Emerson doesn't sharpen from the factory, and I backed it up just a tiny bit. I tried to do it pretty much like this side, but it didn't work too well. But now it's adequately sharp the way I like it. So basically from the factory, the edge on this isn't the greatest. The ZT is way better in that sense. In terms of locking mechanism, I prefer the Emerson. I don't know what it is with titanium frame locks, but they get sticky after a while, and I know there are solutions to that, but I don't have the time or the money to do that, and so right now it is extremely sticky. You know, it's not a huge deal, but it can kind of be annoying at times. The liner lock can get sticky as well, but it's not as much material and it's thinner, so you can, you know, you can force it back easier than a thick frame like that. So I do like the lock in the Emerson better. I don't know if there are really any difference in strength, to be honest. Titanium is strong, and I would never have any worry about the liner material breaking. And it's solid titanium in there too. So that is that. As for overall construction, they're about the same. You know, the ZT looks cool and it's got a lot of things going for it. Oversized hardware and nice big standoffs and a big stop pin. Nice pivot area. The ZT is a little more, or ZT, Emerson is a little more simplistic, and I kind of like it. It doesn't look like a whole lot of knife, but people who know knives just, you know, they know it's a good quality, hard use knife. And so I enjoy both equally, and the hardware is about the same. They're both USA made, so and the prices are very similar. You'll probably find this for about 180, and this one about 230. When I bought it, it was around 260. I don't know if the prices have changed much on this, but when I bought it, it was 180. The MSRPs are vastly different. This one, the MSRP is 264, and the MSRP on this is 325. So just based on the MSRP, this costs more, and solely based on that fact, I would probably pick the Emerson over the ZT. But if, especially now, you can find either one for about the same price, which one would I go with? Still, I would go with the ZT. If Emerson doesn't fix this problem with the pocket clip, if they tap the left side and drill holes in the G10 so that a person can swap the pocket clip to the left side, free of charge, not an extra $25, but free, then I would go with the Emerson. But as it stands right now, they don't tap the left side, and they will tap the left side for $25 extra upon request if you order it from them. So I think you pay full price, so $264 plus $25 for the drilling and tapping. Not worth it, in my opinion. In that case, I would go with the ZT, about $30 less, and you can swap the clip to any position you want. Some people like doing tip down. I like doing tip up. Lefty, righty, doesn't matter. And the pocket clip is deep carry. So in every way, the pocket clip on this is better, infinitely better. In other aspects, there's really too many similarities to compare them. So, I don't know. Maybe come up with your own decision from that. I know I have a problem with how many knives Kershaw or ZT does that are assisted, and especially right now, almost all of their knives are assisted, and I hate that. I'd rather have a good manual knife like this one. So in terms of other options, there aren't a whole lot in this category that I feel are equal. There's probably a few that are out there, but from what I've seen, the ZT is one of the few that actually has a reversible pocket clip from the factory. So that's why I get it. I mean, I explained this in the ZT in the original comparison, that I was deciding between this and a Microtech SOCOM Elite, and the only reason I didn't buy the Microtech was because the pocket clip was a fixed pocket clip, just like the Emerson was, and this I could put where I wanted. So subsequently, I don't own Microtechs. I probably won't, unless they also start manufacturing their knives with reversible pocket clips. So right now, I'd probably still go with the ZT. I stand by what I said. I like both knives, and with my modifications, I really enjoy either one about equal. So that's the comparison I've got. Let me know if you think of other knives that be very similar in overall size and application. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.